And we're both like, yes, no, I know it's been a long week. And yeah, I know. I'll be home this weekend and we'll save some time apart and we'll do something together. And like, we can just tell like, yeah, I'll take the kids and we'll do this and and I love you and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. And we both hang up the phone and then we both look at each other. There was this realization that it doesn't matter who's at the other end of the line, whether it's a male or female, or whether you're a gay couple or a straight couple. At the end of the day in a relationship, you're going to eat shit if you're not home on time for dinner.
And welcome to another episode of Just Us Dads. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Dadversation. We got another good one for you guys today. George isn't here. He's working late again. It's funny how it happens. Every time we have guests, George is working. So, but it works out because we're always three. Chris is here. And we have a very good friend of mine, and we're gonna have a very interesting conversation today. Alex, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, very good, and you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming, man. I know that you're a very busy man, and it just there's a good thing and the bad thing about podcasting now during COVID. The bad thing is, and we're talking about this with Chris and George, the other guy on the show a couple of days ago. We're like, we can't come in the studio. Like we've lost touch, and it's a little bit boring to do them over the over Zoom. The good thing, however, is that for most of the guests, they're not as busy as they used to. So chances are that whoever we want, we're probably going to get them because they're either home during the day or in the evening. So it opens up a door for us. So yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for being here. And I'm looking forward to see where this leads.
Yeah, us too, actually. No, thanks for coming because we've been, many people don't believe this, but we are actually organized. We set an agenda and we have different themes that we want to tackle. And one of them was how it's like to be a dad, but also gay, like to be in a gay household and to be raising children as a gay dad, because obviously this is a dad show. And immediately you came to mind, and I thanks for coming because there's a lot of issues that we want to talk about, and you're the perfect person to share these moments with us. So I appreciate it very much, man.
Thank you.
First of all, how's the family? How is Damien? How is Ben? How are you guys doing?
Everybody's doing well. Both parents, both dads in this case, are working from home. And Damien, grade 5 now, and he's now school from home too. So in Ontario, where I live, they've closed all the schools. So the kids have been home from break week last week, and then they're doing the school online starting today. So
yeah, you guys are going through a bit of a rough patch over there now.
A little bit, but we're hopeful. My husband and I are both set up for the vaccine on Friday coming up, so we're looking forward to get our jabs.
How so? How come you're getting it in advance?
We're not. Ontario is now to 40 and up.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's us.
we just get back to lags a little bit, George.
They all have a different approach and lags at one point or another. I think there's going to be an equilibrium somewhere in there, but for now, it's just the way that it is.
Alex? You know what I was thinking? Leading into this show, specifically with you, because a couple of weeks ago we put out a video about. Things our wives do that frustrate us. Basically, it was more, jokingly, like what do they do? And we had a whole episode, and we laughed at our wives, for them. We laughed at their expense, but they're okay. they're good sports. And I was thinking, you know what? It must be different being in a house with a gay partner, because the same way that men and women think different, they're like, oh man, I hate when she does that. It's so frustrating. I'm guessing in your in your reality, you're just another guy. It must be cool because you're always on the same wavelength. I mean, George at some point,
No.
Nice try.
Because at some point during that episode, George was saying how frustrating it is. You know, you go take a shower and he pulled out like a whole, strain of hair from the drain. And I'm thinking, look, a gay guy doesn't have that issue.
My husband has hair all the way up to here.
Okay. Oh,
and just last week I was like, okay, like I go take my shower and I'm like, my feet are floating in the water. Like, it's just like, no. And then he goes and passes that thing through and it just pulls this whole wire thing. I think my son was about to puke. So it happens to all of us. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter who's your partner. Yeah. And I guess that's the approach here is that, if you permit me for a little bit, and maybe that will set up the base because of the opening you just did. But in a previous life, as George will know, I also worked with the Prime Minister, the now Prime Minister. Back then, he was not. And him and I traveled the country quite a bit. And one day, we're on a plane together and sitting side by side, but on the phone separately. And he's talking to his spouse, and I'm talking to my spouse. And based on each other's response, we can tell that we're both. Can we swear on this show?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. I like how you whispered.
We can tell that we're both in shit. And we're both like, yes, no, I know it's been a long week, and yeah, I know. I'll be home this weekend, and we'll save some time apart, and we'll do something together. And like we can just tell, like, yeah. I'll take the kids, and we'll do this, and and I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye. And we both hang up the phone, and then we both look at each other. There was this realization that it doesn't matter who's at the other end of the line, whether it's a male or female, or whether you're a gay couple or a straight couple. At the end of the day in a relationship, you're going to eat shit if you're not home on time for dinner. And so that was very, very, very clear that that doesn't matter who your partner is. You're all on the same level. You're all doing there's compromise in all relationships.
Of course.
There's like a base standard, right?
Yeah.
Alex, let me just go back to the beginning. When you came out, how was that support system for you? The people around you. Let's go back there if you want. We'll just start from there. How was that experience for you?
Well, you have to set yourself back a little bit. Like, I mean, for me, this when I came out was 1999, and I was already 24 years old, and so it was, it was I don't want to say it was a different time, like it wasn't that far back, but it's just, there was not as many people as comfortable with their sexuality and their well-being the way that they are today. So, you approach things differently. You were a bit more secretive about the way you were doing things. And you didn't have the anonymity that some of the people today have, where they can have, meet people in different ways that are more secretive. Today, the way that you meet people is you can go on a app and just book a date. But back in the day, you would have to go on outside. You had to go in a bar. You had to go and meet people. And so for me, that was the way that I was trying to do it. In Ottawa, maybe the capital, but it's sort of a big village, and so everybody knows each other. So that made it a bit more difficult for me, anyways. So the support system was not evident at first, but came in strong right away. So as soon as friends found out, because I told them, they were quite supportive right away. The family factor. Most of the family members were quite supportive, and then the parents had to adjust with time. So at first there's more of a scare than anything else as a parent. I know that for my parents and my mom in particular, who also had politics in her career, she thought that, me being gay would stop me from advancing in my career.
Yeah.
And when I start explaining to her how things were moving and people were adjusting, it reassured her a little bit. And then comes the other sort of factor is I won't be a grandmother. And I was like, well, there's other ways. And so, if you look at that was in 1999. And today, after spending more than 20 years on Parliament Hill in different functions and responsibilities, I've been married since 2011, been with my partner since 2001, and our kid is 10 years old. And so she is a grandmother, and she loves him, and she has every moment that she can take with him. These days, mostly over the screen, but looking for every minute that they can spend together in person as soon as this is over. But,
Alex, I can't remember when you got married, but I don't think it was permitted here in Quebec. Did you go to the U.S. to get married?
No.
Okay.
The law was changed in 2005 for Canada. It didn't have anything to do with the provinces, so we got married in 2011.
Okay.
And but the approach was different for us. I did not grow up with the idea that one day I would get married as a gay man.
Why?
So because it was not permitted when I grew up.
Okay.
Right. It became legal as a much older adult. And so for us, the way that it happened, and kind of a bitchy gay way sometimes that we do, is that we went to other people's weddings at some point, and then we would be sitting next to each other at the ceremonies, and we're like, oh, we would never do that. Or, oh, this is good. We would definitely do that. And sort of having that conversation sort of led us to think more and more about our own wedding until this famous period in time where I took a year and a half of my life to be away, mostly from my husband, my now husband, to spend that year and a half in Villeray, working with this guy over there, and just giving him very little time, only when he came down on the weekends to see me. After we were done all of our activities for the political background stuff that we were doing, and then after we won, that's when I asked him to marry me. I said, okay, I just put you through torture for a year and a half. Might as well.
You're a keeper. You're a keeper.
Might as well keep it.
you passed the test.
Yeah, for sure.
Was the idea of being parents ever like present, or it just came like?
I think that came with the conversations as well, right? Like as any couple, at some point or another, you're gonna have that conversation whether or not you want to have kids. And for us, we start having that conversation, roughly around 2010 or so. And one of the factors that came into play for us at the time, we both had a pretty good career. We were both very stable and knew that we could deal with it. But second is that my parents are a bit older than his, and if I was going to have a kid, I wanted to make sure that the relationship that he would have or she would have at the time, we didn't know, with the grandparents would be an active one. I wanted my parents to have a very active
to live and to
and
enjoy
they could do stuff with him
yeah.
that they could, and that's sort of like, okay, well, we should do it sooner rather than later. And so we started the process then, and no regrets. I mean, I grew up having a great relationships with my grandparents, going on trips and doing all kinds of activities with them. And so we were able to reproduce that, if you want. Like they went to Disney World, we went to Cape Cod and so things like that, and great little field trips as well around in the Laurentians and Quebec City and all that. So
how was the process, Alex? Was it
so
simple, or was
that's where it differs between Quebec and Ontario. So at the time, I would have to check. I'm not sure where the laws are right now in Quebec, but Ontario did a shift at some point on adoption processes. And the way that it works is that until the kid is what they call crown ward, the child remains in foster care. When the child is crown ward, that means that the state has the ownership of the child, if you want, and that the parents, the bio parents, don't have any recourse at that point. Then the child goes for adoption. And what the state sort of figured out at some point is that the stability of the child was more important than just the biological link between the parents and the child. Mm-hmm. And so having the child in a stable home with caring parents, going to school, doing and getting to know the community where they belong, that was more important than just being connected to the parent in a biological way.
How was it different in Quebec?
So Quebec, and again, back in those days, Quebec parents, biological parents, would have up to 5 years to come and reclaim their child, even after being adopted. Wow. If somehow they, let's say the child was taken away from them for some reason, if they managed to turn their life around, they would then have a possibility to claim the child back. That's hard as a parent when you're doing that, right? Even as an adoptive parent, it's hard for a parent to let go of their child, right? Like either way, it's hard for the bio parent to let go of the child to go to adoption, I'm sure. And as an adoptive parent, losing your child after a few years of being together, that would be heart-wrenching. So
for sure. Was there ever any issue with the fact that the adoptive parents were gay?
No, in fact, it was kind of funny because there was two things. One is there's a program that they have before you can adopt. You have to have sort of a parental class, and I forget what all the acronyms are for, but when you put them together, it's called PRIDE, and it had nothing to do with LGBTQ2 plus groups. It was just the way that the program was called. But and I think we were the only gay couple in our class when we did it, but absolutely no qualms there. Everything worked out perfectly for us that way. And the other thing was that the bio mom of our son was somewhat involved in the selection process.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And I think the way that they did it is that they would have selected a few parents that they would have approved, and then she could have picked between those selections. And she picked us. So.
And can I ask you a question, Alex? Is the mom like still involved in your child's life? Is she still present? Does your kid get to see her?
Well, we haven't seen her in some time, but there is in Ontario, again, through the same. This is all done through the Child Aid Services of Ottawa. So, and the process there, they encourage what they call openness adoption. Mm-hmm. So it's a process where you can keep in touch. It could be anything from, just sending a letter with pictures, once a year or twice a year, whatever, or to have meetings. And so we opted for the meeting portion. So usually it's in the spring and in the fall. And we would have selected a common ground place like a park or a restaurant or something like that, like McDonald's, whatever, where we would go and meet with his mom, and we would spend a bit of time together. It doesn't have to be much, like maybe a couple of hours. So you would get at least to know her that way. But then she moved to Edmonton, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. She comes back into town once in a while, and she'll be in touch, and then we'll try to make a meet happen, or we'll do. I'll get an email and asking for an update, and I'll tell her what we're up to and send her a couple of pictures and things like that.
Do you find that strange? Do you find that strange at all, Alex? I mean, and again, I don't understand how the whole world of adoption works. I thought that the kids were like really left without parents at all, and the system was then responsible to find a family to put them in. But the way that you're describing it is as if the mom is, fully aware that, she didn't want the kid, but she wants to stay kind of part of somehow his life. Or
you have to be careful about the word want or didn't want, right?
Yeah.
When you're dealing with public adoptions, a lot of times the kids come from families where there was trouble.
Right.
So in our case, we were lucky. Our kid, his parents were just too young when they got pregnant, and with no real social safety net to help them through it. Right. And so the state saw it fit that would be the best solution for the kid at the time. Like the parents were couch surfing, they didn't have a regular home and things like that, and so. And again, that's the version that we got from the state. So that's what I can give back as a response. But was it their choice? Did they really want to not keep the kid? I don't think so. I think that it was a hard decision that they had to make because of the situations that they were in. And so, we're lucky, we benefited from that, and we like to think that our kid is lucky and he benefited from that as well, because we're giving him a loving home and a place where he can grow and learn and be part of society. But I'm not a guru in that kind of stuff, so I cannot second guess everything that was done by the state at the time. But this is just where we are. So that's why keeping the connection with her has been very helpful, because we can get to know her a little bit more. We know how she feels about it, and so far the relationship is pretty good.
And
yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask Alex, for our viewers, you opted for that option, which is one of the options, adoption, right? There's other options. Did you evaluate different ways, and why did you decide to adopt finally?
Yeah, there's plenty of different ways. Well, there was couple of things. One of it is, you could have gone the in vitro, fighting in mère porteuse. Sorry.
Yeah, surrogate.
Yeah.
And or you could have gone and adopt internationally, or you could adopt, here in the city of Ottawa where we live. And a couple of things that came to mind. First of all, the sheer cost and tribulation of going through an international adoption can be quite something. And the risk factor is quite high as well, where in an international adoption, sometimes things just goes wrong and then you don't have any recourse. and then the surrogate option at the time in Canada, you could do it, but I think you had to go in the States to get it done and then come back or something. Like, it wasn't quite clear to us where things stand on that, and if what was actually possible and legal. And then we look at this option, and what really gave us the oh, this is the right option, is that we found out that just in Ottawa alone at that time, there was about 2,000 kids in the system.
Wow.
Yeah, that made it easy to decide, right?
And yeah, we're just like, okay, so we have this option of getting a surrogate. We have the option of going to get a kid in another country, or we can, try to help a kid that's actually here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a pretty high number.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that was a high number. I don't know where it stands today, but that's what they told us at the time. So that sort of like focused us on, okay, no, I think we're gonna go with a kid from here.
What about your son now? Obviously, he's older. He understands a little bit more than when you adopted him when he was, a newborn.
Yeah.
How does he feel about the situation? I mean, because I'm still sticking to the fact that you're in contact with the biological mom, and I understand the logic behind it. There's no issue. It's just from your son's perspective. I mean, are you having that discussion at all? How's that going over there? Like, how do you make him understand that?
There's quite a few good books out there. Somebody gave us a book for adoptive kids. And the way that the book works is that you fill it up with pictures and there's sort of like questions that they're asking you about, how did the kid come to you? Why did you decide to adopt? And, who was his parents? Or where you really tell the story of the kid and how he came into your life and how you chose to have a kid for your family, and so on. Mm-hmm. And so I took one of those books and I reproduced it to have it printed, like MacBook book, whatever, mm-hmm. and hard copy book. And so that's his book, and he knows about his book. And ever so often, sometimes he'll just grab it and read it to himself. As a kid, it would be a book that he could want to pick, and I would read it for him when he was younger. And so he knows his story, and he knows where it comes from, and he knows that he had parents that loved him and that tried to do the best for him. And we covered not just his birth parents, but he was in foster care with a foster family, the same foster family, for almost a year before he came to us. Mm-hmm. So we cover that family as well, right? So he always knows his life story and how he got to be where he is today. So there's no secrets. There's no veil. It's just it's right there, and I think that helps him feel comfortable. It helps him feel secure. Sometimes he has questions the same way as any other adoptive kids would have about, whether or not his parents left him behind or not. And you kind of have to remind him about the book and remind him about his story and the choice that his parents had to make. But when you do that, then that sort of settles him down a bit, and he gets to move forward again.
Right. I want to talk to you a little bit about, the stereotypes that we see in society around, the gay couples, which, you've come obviously a long way since the 90s and even the early 2000s. It's much more normal, quote unquote, to see gay couples out there. People, I think, are a lot more accepting to see these types of families being built. With respect to your kid, you're a gay couple, you have a baby, you're thinking, okay, eventually the kid's going to go to school. He will realize that perhaps the majority of his classmates won't have that type of family setting. like he has at home. How do you go about that? How do you prepare your kid to kind of throw him out there in society where the views on gay couples isn't what he's lived through until he gets out there?
Well, for us, we're pretty lucky because because both of us are working parents. We had to send Damien to daycare, pretty much from the age of, I think, 18 months old and on. So he's been with other kids in a sort of a framed environment for most of his life. And the teachers at the daycare, the same as the teachers at the schools, are very, very good at explaining to the other kids all the different families out there. Right. So you have a family with a mom and a dad. You have a family with two moms. You have a family with two dads. You have a family with one dad. You have a family with one mom. Like there's all kinds of different, sometimes it's the grandparents who are taking care of the kids. Sometimes it's so, what we realize with kids is that they adapt to the environment that they're in. And most kids who sometimes don't know that Damien has two dads, when they do realize that he has two dads, it's a fleeting moment. It's like, he has two dads. Yeah, okay. And they just move on to something else.
Right.
And it's just, so, there's never been an issue where, we felt like he was getting a different perspective about who his family is. And, he'll make comments today because he's a bit more, at 10 years old, he's starting to be a bit more alert and starting to be a bit more almost into the teenage years now. So he knows a bit more about it, but there's no difference for him as to, whether it's a man and woman or two gay dads. Like it's not a.
Well, obviously, because you're brought up in that environment. So a child, like you said, adapts to whatever environment. So for the kid, it's totally normal. My question, I'm just wondering, when he goes out there and he sees that, the majority of the families aren't like that. I was just wondering psychologically how that.
But that's what I mean, though. Like the majority of the families are not all the same either. And there's all kinds of different types of families out there. And there's enough of a variety that, for him, it doesn't register that way. Right. And I would probably challenge you to look at your kids and see how they react to other families in your school, and just see where they register when they see those other families. Yeah. Because I'm not sure that it registers with them that way. Kids, they don't really pay attention to that stuff. They know, they'll pay attention as to whether it's to mom, to dad, or whatever, but they won't really focus on it.
Right.
I hope we still have George. It looks frozen a little bit.
Yeah, I think we lost George, or he's thinking.
Can you see this? I see.
Or he's thinking very hardly. Yeah, George.
Yeah. Am I still frozen?
Yeah. It makes sense. It's like they won't see the prejudice unless they've learned how to see it. So you said, Alex, they observe it, but they don't necessarily put it in any compartment. It's just normal. It is what it is. That's what's very important about what you just said. Yeah, George, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. I always saw you guys perfectly. The only guy that froze was Alex for a second.
No, you froze. You froze. You were thinking. You were in your thoughts.
Chris had a good question about the mother figure. I don't know if you want to go ahead, Chris.
We were saying this was it actually came up in another conversation, but I think you're the perfect person to ask this to. Seeing as there's biological dad and a biological mom, all right? Because of the lack of a mother, have you found ways to compensate for that? You don't think it's important? Does it come from like maybe the grandmother figure or maybe friends? Like, how do you see that? Is my question clear?
Yeah, it is. But I mean, it's the same as asking a single woman, how do you compensate for the father figure who's absent in the kids' environment?
Yeah.
I think kids adapt to whatever environment they're in. I don't think that you need to compensate for one or another. And so, when we say, it's cliche and whatever, but when we say it takes a village, the same way as you would have people in your friends circles, your family circles, who have different opinions about all kinds of different things, and you want your kid to have access to all of these different mentalities so that they can grasp the different society that we live in. You want the same thing for your kid, no matter who it is, right? So so whether it's our like you said, the grandparents or our friends, he gets that interaction with a group of people that we let into our lives on a regular basis, but we don't see it as needing the woman's touch or the men's touch. It's individuals who can all bring in a different aspect. I mean, Damien's godmother, one day we'll get her back for it, but she loved teaching him to jump into puddles when he was a kid. And,
so
that hasn't gone away. He sees a puddle and he wants to go through it. I'll send her the dry cleaning bill someday.
All right, good. I just want to know how you feel about it, because that's what I was looking for. It's like you don't need the need to compensate, right? It's what it is. It's what the new environment is, and it's parenting is genderless. It's just taking care, nurturing, nourishing the mind and the kid, and that's what it's all about.
I'll never take anything from a woman and a mother giving birth to a child and being able to nurture the child and be able to feed their child and all that kind of stuff. Like there are a few things we cannot do. But it doesn't mean that we cannot find ways to normalize the life of the kid and make him just as complete.
Sounds good.
Yeah, tell me, Alex, just in terms of our society, you've been, you've seen the back rooms of politics. You've been involved. Like you said, you've been working on the Hill for all these years. Where are we right now with the levels of acceptance with respect to the LGBTQ? And like we said, I mean, there's a long way we've come, but I mean, what do you see as challenges? I mean, what's left for you to accomplish? What would you like to see, and especially in your context as a parent?
Yeah, as a parent, for me, not for the family life. I don't think that there's anything I'm looking for right now, and I'm not. I want to make very clear, I'm not an advocate for any of the movements out there. So I'm not as knowledgeable when it comes to what laws or what are the new demands out there that we need to fix. But I think that what you want as as my kid is that whatever he decides to grow into, I want him to have access to all the same things as everybody else.
Right.
And so, I don't, have a pretty good idea where things are going with him. But I don't want to pretend that it cannot change over time. And so whatever he decides that he's going to be when he gets there, whatever he realizes that he is when he ever gets there, he should be able to feel complete, and he should be able to have access to all the same privileges as everybody else. And so if you're looking at what's going on right now, I know that this government is trying to do quite a bit on that front, on the LGBTQ2 rights, making sure that there's no discrimination, making sure that there's respect in languages around our laws and our regulations. making sure that all of the facets of the rainbows are met, whether you're gay, bi, trans, and so for me that is important, and so that's more or less where I think things are. I mean, there's still some work to be done. I think I didn't follow it quite well, but there was something this week in the House where in a sort of a debate between two MPs, somebody would have made it comment about how unnatural LGBTQ2 plus citizens are. So it's just
what does that mean? Like, how unnatural?
Ask that person. I don't know. I think everything I do is quite natural, but comes natural to me anyways. But
it's a pretty broad statement. It's not natural. Like, what do you mean it's not natural?
Oh yeah, exactly. So that and I another member of parliament got up and asked the person to take back her comment, but I think that's where we are, right? It's just ensuring that there's no discrimination out there and that people are treated equally. If you can do that, then you're quite going the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I guess. Look, the most important thing is what you said, right? The fact that this child is in a house where he's being loved, he's being taken care of, and he's being given everything to make sure that his life progresses in the best way possible. I mean, from your end, how can you feel bad about what you've done, right? I mean, there's no way.
No, you don't feel bad about what I've done. I don't, not for 1 minute. Like, it's, I feel bad maybe for buying him too many things too many times, but other than
that's everyone. That's everyone.
Not for providing the home, not for having a family. And for us, when I say a family, like, you have to understand it's the it's the grandparents, it's the aunts, it's the uncles, because whenever we get together, it's the whole group. It's never just one or two, and that's what he likes, right? Like, my parents live in Saint-Sauveur, and then when we go up there, my mom's the oldest of 7, and all her brothers and sisters live fairly close to each other, and so whenever we go up there, there's always aunts and uncles and cousins, and
it's always a party.
There's always somebody similar. Someone, this has been the hardest part of this pandemic, is not having this huge community that we belong to, that we haven't been able to see and tap into as much as we want.
And now the border's closed, so you can't even come here. We don't want you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, or us, you. I mean, that's another.
You don't want us either.
You Montrealers, you stay home. But,
Alex, I want to ask you a question, because I asked you before if the whole support system, and if there were people around you at that time that were unfavorable of all these things, and when you came out, they kind of saw you like in this negative light or whatever. Has there been people around you? And I'm assuming that, because I know you'd probably kind of just slowly erase those people from your life, but I'm assuming that in your closer circle, like family or otherwise, like friends and stuff like that, if there were any kind of sentiments like unfavorable to what you did, like whether it was getting married or adopting a child, and now after all these years, if they look back at all and say, well, you know what, at the end of the day, like, they're actually good parents, the kid is loved, and like they have a good little unit here. I mean, does that even exist, or I'm just fantasizing?
I'm sure it does exist. I was lucky, the people I did have in my life, nobody cared. The people, I don't want to say nobody cared. I don't think it's right, but they did not see it as a problem.
Yeah.
And and like I said earlier, the one person who actually had maybe a bit of a bigger reaction was my mom, and it was mostly out of fear, not because of who I was, but just because of how people would see me, and those fears never materialized. So I was very, very lucky. Not everybody is as lucky, and I do get that. But that was not even when my husband and I started dating. We went to meet his family, and but he had to come out first because he hadn't told his family yet either.
The same time, it was at the same time he's coming out.
Well, he's 5 years younger than me, so but it was around, yeah. So
wow, at the same time, a double.
In 1999, he came out in 2001, something.
But wait. Did he announce that he was gay the same time that he presented you to his family?
No, we did it.
Yeah.
Maybe a month or two before.
You
scared me, man.
But you know, and then when he told his parents, they're like, "Oh, come on, we've known that since you're 6. Like, it's not." You know? So,
but you know that's pretty much the best scenario that you can hope for, because how many people that are kind of still in the closet, they develop, you know, these mental health issues and these psychological issues because of the fear of coming out and expressing these things, and sometimes it's just fine, right? Because their parents have known all along, and it's, you know, they don't want to take the first step.
It's a hard spot to be in. Like, it's always you know, you always sort of feel two ways. You feel like you're cheating on the people that you love because you're not able to tell them who you really are.
Right.
So you feel like you're always sort of lying and deceiving, and at the same time you're in that fear that you won't be accepted. And so,
absolutely,
which is just the more and more that people come out, the more and more that people talk about it, the lesser I'm hoping that next generation will be, you know, afraid of coming out, and
that it's finally normalized.
And we've seen it, even in my family, we've seen it. Like, we've had others, cousins, younger cousins, and some who have come out because they've seen us, all the time, Ben and I together, and they don't react.
And it's a relief when it comes out.
Yeah,
I had a friend too. Well, like, I still have him.
Your whole mentality change, and you're much more open about who you are. So
because I had a friend too, and it's like he didn't say anything for a long time, and then I think after 6-7 years, something like that, he actually told me, and I was like, "Look, we know, man, it's fine." So it was like for him, you know, and it's like, just, you have to come up, you have to come and say it, you know what I mean? And it's like, people will understand. It's what it is. It's a big relief. Get it off your chest, and people will understand, especially now, you know.
For sure.
So I had that. I remember that day, and it was like, yeah, we know, man, it's fine. You know, he was probably that whole week he was like probably stressed to come and tell that.
I can tell you he was.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was like, and then it was just like, after that, then it was just like, that's it. We're good.
It's true because after that, and I know who he's talking about. Obviously, he's our friend, but
it was good to go. It was like perfect.
No, but he, like, you saw that he was comfortable in his shoes, right?
Yeah.
He was
after he told everyone, it was fine. It was good. Let's go. Yeah.
Like,
and you get to the preference. You go to the person that you feel the most comfortable with. That right? And then you go from there, and then you create almost a base, right? And once you have that support there, then you can feel a bit better about going to the rest. But of
course,
you know, you were asking about acceptance, and it reminded me of the day that we passed. The government passed the Gay Marriage Act in the House of Commons, and you know, I had heard or seen at the time that there were some members of Parliament who have considered friends who were on the same party as I was, who were going to vote against the bill.
Wow.
And I remember telling, at the time I was working for a minister, and I remember telling him that I was going to go and watch the vote that night because I wanted to see which friends were going to stand up against me.
All right.
And he turned it around on me and says, then you shouldn't go. I'm like, excuse me? He says, well, this is going to pass. So you can either watch it and enjoy the moment where Canada is going to change for you, or you can be in a better position and miss the whole thing.
Right.
What did you do?
So I kind of
Wise words, huh?
Very wise words. And so I stopped for a minute and I kind of let that sit. And then I went into the gallery and I went to watch the vote. And at the time, the Prime Minister was Paul Martin, and he came down and sat in his chair. And as the President of the House read the syllabus for the bill before the vote, Paul was sort of kind of looking up in the gallery, and he saw me. And as soon as it was time to vote, he just gave me a salute and got up. And so, that kind of erased. I didn't even look at who voted against at that time.
There you go.
That doesn't matter anymore.
You know that everyone that voted in favor were on the right side of history. So right page.
So that was there's moments like that in life that you can just they'll give you strength forever.
Well said.
We've had you for about an hour, Alex. Dude, we don't want to take up too much of your time. We know that your men over there are all sleeping. I'm fine because I'm in the basement, so nobody can even hear me. But I can't imagine both you and Chris that you're in a little room trying to whisper. Let me not wake up my family.
I'm in the basement too. But
there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on, man.
My pleasure.
Chris, did you have anything else? Did you have anything else to add, Chris? I don't want to feel like I'm cutting you out.
No, it's fine. It was a good conversation. I learned a lot. Thanks for sharing. It was a pleasure, Alex.
Well, thank you. Happy to come back anytime if we want to talk about other issues as well. But
absolutely, man, and hopefully we'll be able to do it in person. Honestly, because I think we're pretty much all sick and tired of this situation. And no, it was important that you came on, Alex. Like I told you in the message that I had sent you about a month ago, there that it's important to have these conversations, and it's important to normalize what should be normal, but that an effort needs to be made, and we're very happy that you came.
Thank you, and just remember that, like, it's just it doesn't matter whose spouse it is. You're always going to get on each other's nerves at some point or another.
You're always in some kind of shit at the end.
Doesn't matter how many kids you have, or if you're gay parents or straight parents or single parents. We're all going to step on that Lego piece that's left on the floor at some point.
Yeah. Happened today. There
you go.
Yeah.
So we're all living the same lives. We all have the same challenges. It's all about how we go through them and how we help our kids grow up.
So. Absolutely.
Awesome. On that, we'll end it. Thank you all for tuning in. Head on over to our all social media platforms, like and subscribe. You can check out Louis-Alexandre Lanthier. I'll put all the information in the description there so people can go and follow you and look at all the wonderful things that you're doing there. Thanks again, guys, and see you all on the next episode.
Merci.
Good night.
Ciao.